It's Tuesday, September 2nd, and we're tracking two systems in Eastern Pacific today, the same two that we discussed yesterday. The first one is Hurricane Kiko, intensifying in the open tropical Pacific, and it's likely to become a major hurricane in short order as it continues tracking west throughout the tropical Pacific. We've also got now Tropical Storm Lorena off the western coast of Mexico. This system is intensifying and it's likely to get towards hurricane intensity at peak, though it may come off that a little bit before it makes landfall in the Baja California Peninsula, spreading heavy rainfall and tropical storm force winds there as it comes ashore. We're going to start off briefly with Hurricane Kiko in the open tropical Pacific. This is the closer visible loop as we go throughout the morning and into the afternoon hours here. And since yesterday, the system has made some pretty good improvements. Yesterday, I talked about how the system, for the most part, yesterday afternoon was sort of stuck in its convective pattern. It really was not able to, at least in the morning hours, not wrap convection fully around the eye to try and close off an eye wall. But we've seen that happen now from yesterday. When I made my video last, it was just starting to wrap some convection around to the south side, and that has persisted into the day today. And you can see as the sun rose over this region, we had a deep burst of convection wrap all the way around the eye, and now we're getting some clearing in the center here, indicating that the system is intensifying, likely at a bit of a quicker pace now. I wouldn't be surprised if we're already nearing Category 3 intensity. If not, it'll certainly get there tonight or early tomorrow at this rate. And this is forecast to continue for the next couple of days as the environment is generally favorable for some steady intensification to continue. If we look at water strip imagery, there might be a touch of easterly shear. If you look at some of the thunderstorms that form east of the storm, there might be some evidence of some clouds being pushed off to the west, but so far this does not seem to be having a very significant impact on the vortex as a whole. There's also some dry air, and this will likely periodically, alongside some of the shear, disrupt the system over the next few days. But overall, the environment seems good for this to steadily intensify and maintain itself as a hurricane going forward. And that's a general forecast from the National Hurricane Center. This is a zoomed out view showing you the entire 5-day forecast with the Hawaiian Islands on the west here. And you can see it becoming a major hurricane on this forecast by tomorrow afternoon, though that may be a little bit earlier. It may be as early as tonight, but maintaining hurricane intensity throughout the entire 5-day forecast and gradually coming off this major hurricane peak as we head through this weekend, because the system will be moving by that point into cooler waters. And that's not going to be the only thing that weakens the system as it comes towards the Hawaiian Islands. The steering pattern is still rather uncertain, so I'm not going to talk about that really at all. But the environmental conditions, at least, are not going to be all too favorable by the looks of things. This is a GFS ensemble showing you the upper level winds by 7 days out, so next Tuesday. By this point, Kiko is over here on this map, and you can see the storm is tracking west. Aloft, we have this big trough north of Hawaii. This seems to be pretty good confidence that this will be here in some way, and that will likely favor this strong fetch of southwesterly flow across the Hawaiian Islands. And whatever Kiko state is, as it comes west, it will get shredded apart by the strong southwesterly flow. So really not looking for a very concerning track forecast or intensity forecast at all for the Hawaiian Islands, but it's possible that as we go into the middle to latter half of next week, we see some remnant moisture approach these islands with what will be the remnants of Kiko by that time. But certainly going to be a neat system to look at on satellite. These out-to-sea specific storms are always super neat to see each year as they peak out as very strong major hurricanes. Okay, that's Hurricane Kiko done. Now we've got the land threat of the week to discuss. That's Tropical Storm Lorena here off the west coast of Mexico. This is a closer look at the system today. And we have seen the system make some progress today as to getting itself better organized to suit itself for intensification. We talked about yesterday how it was crucial for how strong the system was going to get. How quickly does it form an eye and eye wall structure? And we're seeing today that we have a couple curved band features on the eastern and northern side of this, and we do see even some curling in the convection around the center, which does indicate that the system is trying to build that inner core structure, which was confirmed by this microwave pass, which is a bit low resolution, but we do have enough data here to go off of. You can see those two curved bands on the eastern and northern side, and the convection wrapping around what appears to be a developing eye here in the center. And so this does look pretty good overall, and this will likely allow the system to push itself up to a hurricane in peak intensity. But the fortunate thing here is the track of this system will likely mean that it's going to run out of warm water before landfall. And so that will allow some time for it to come off that peak intensity alongside vertical shear increasing as we head towards that time frame. I can show you this here in both ways here on the HASS model. This is a zoomed out view. First one here is showing you the seasonal temperature plot as it approaches landfall. You can see that we do have some fairly warm waters just west of the southern part of the Baja California Peninsula, and there is still some model spread on exactly how far west or east the system will go. The general consensus appears to be that if it is further east, it will have more warm water up to landfall. So that could be a scenario where we maybe see the system come in as a hurricane into the Baja California Peninsula. But if it comes further west, you can see the waters quickly cool off here along the western central coast of the Baja California Peninsula. And this would be a scenario that if it took this kind of a track, it would deal with this colder water and likely weaken from its peak intensity up to landfall. Now, the bigger issue with this is that there is going to be increasing vertical shear. You can see that we do have right now a very nice, healthy upper level high pressure system directly on top of it. This is promoting the intensification that we're going to be seeing over the next day or so. And it's also promoting a low shear environment. But you can see we have this kink in the flow here. This is an upper trough that's going to begin to push some southwesterly shear upon the vortex of Lorena. Now, initially, this may help the system because, as I mentioned yesterday, between this ridge and this trough, we do have this zone of accelerating flow. It's called a jet streak, and this may allow the system to intensify at a bit of a quicker pace. These jet interactions can be a bit fickle, but they sometimes can allow hurricanes to intensify at quicker rates. That is something to watch for. We'll keep an eye on that if that does allow the system to get stronger than the current forecast is. But the good news is that you can see as this approaches landfall, this increase in southwesterly flow is increasing along the vortex, and that should mean that the system will halt intensification at some point, hopefully prior to landfall, so that we can see some weakening prior to landfall. On the specific model run, this is on the eastern side of the solution, so this shear is not as strong as it would be if it was further west here, and this would be more of a scenario where you may see a hurricane come in, like I was talking about as well with sea surface temperatures. This is the current spread of intensity guidance of the potential intensity that we could see the system peak at. You can see the general range of sort of, you can paint the picture of these models are showing it staying further west or maybe having some disruption in the intercore process today and tomorrow. That would result in the storm being weaker. A tropical storm maybe getting to about 70 miles per hour, and then that's it. And then we have the upper end solutions that may be staying in the warmer water, maybe more favorable shear-wise with its position, with its track, and that would be a scenario where we may see it get a little bit stronger. Some of those models are putting it up to category 2, but we'll have to see exactly how that goes. But if you take the mean of this, you're generally looking at a high-end tropical storm to low-end hurricane at peak intensity, and that's what the National Hurricane Center has gone with on their forecast here. You can see intensifying into a hurricane by tomorrow afternoon, and then as that water begins to cool and that vertical shear increases, we see the system begin to weaken as it recurves into the coast. And beyond that point, the system will be interacting strongly with land, and it will not be intensifying really much at all beyond that point, and we'll just be spreading moisture into northwestern Mexico and the southwestern US. Now, we don't have any tropical storm watches or warnings as of the time of this recording. I'm recording this at about 3:16 Central Time, which would be, I guess, 2:15 Mountain Time, which would be the local time here. The advisory from the National Hurricane Center will come out at the top of the hour, and that will likely have tropical storm watches and warnings being issued, maybe hurricane watches as well, depending on what their forecast is for this coast. But you can see that the odds of tropical storm force winds are increasing along the coasts. They're now up to 10 to 20%. Along this western coast, we may see some spots of 30% on this graphic. And this is also showing you the earliest reasonable time frame of when those tropical storm force winds could arrive. And you can see this is generally by tomorrow morning, though the most likely time frame will be sometime tomorrow afternoon, especially in southern Baja California. But of course, wind is not going to be the only thing we have to deal with. Arguably, the bigger thing, especially in northwestern Mexico, is going to be the rainfall that this system brings. You can see a wide swath of 2 to 4 inches of rain. That's 50 to 100 millimeters. And you can see as it comes into the high terrain here in northwestern Mexico, as that moisture gets squeezed out, as those mountains do with the moisture with these systems, we may see some very heavy totals end up here with a broad swath of 4 to 8 inches. That's 150 or 100 to 200 millimeters of rainfall, with some localized totals up to 300 millimeters in spots, though there is some more uncertainty there, as partially that does have to do with the intensity, as a stronger system may be able to put out more rainfall, as a weaker system may not put nearly as much rainfall down. But still, even then, you don't need too much rainfall, especially in this mountainous terrain, to cause flooding issues here in northwestern Mexico. That's all that I've got for these two systems. Stay safe in Baja California as the impacts start to begin tomorrow, and I'll have more videos on the system and on Kiko as they continue tracking west on their forecasts over the next few days. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.